Hello, this is my wrap up of week one, and I want to thank you for your participation in the conversations. And I think we're off to a good start. There's a couple of concepts that I really want to stress about the first week, and those concepts have to do with alignment and assessment. So, alignment is what we're talking about when we say the mission relates to the objectives, which relates then to the outcomes in particular classes, which relates to the activities. Ideally, you should be able to look at the activities that you do in a classroom or with a class. If it's a role playing or if it's something that they have to produce, a video, if it's a paper they have to write, and you should be able to see that that is connected to specific outcomes in the class, and that each of those outcomes is related to specific objectives or goals that have been stated by the program or the department, and that that is related very clearly to the mission. So you're looking for alignment all the way down the line, and it should be clear to the student. Why am I doing this? Well, we're doing this because one of our goals as a department is to do this, and so because of that, in this class, here's an outcome that we're focusing on. We need to be able to see that you can do X or Y, and that's because of this larger mission. So that doesn't always work that way. Lots of people are in school where they stumble along and they're never really, they never have a sense of what the mission is or what the larger goals are. But it should be clear to them, and right down to the level of the syllabus, where you say this is one of the activity or the activities in this class, and this activity is related to this outcome, and this outcome is related to these objectives for the program, and that's related to this mission. So that's the ideal, and we should strive for it. The other issue I wanted to mention was alignment. Not alignment, I'm sorry. I want to mention assessment. And make sure you realize that we're assessing two things. We're assessing the student and we're assessing ourselves. Now, you noticed in my responses to your original post, several times I was asking about, well, how do you measure that or observe that? And this measuring and observing is important, and it's important to the student that you give them feedback on that. So you're looking at the activity they're doing, and you're providing some sort of feedback that lets them know I'm doing all right, and I'm achieving, I'm getting there, and I'm doing this thing. But the other issue of assessment is we're assessing ourselves as a program, and so this comes into play particularly in the issue of accreditation. An accrediting agency comes and they look and they say, what is your mission as a university or school? How does that translate into the particular statements of values and the mission of each different program unit, and then each program unit, how have they played that out through their goals and outcomes in a way that's clear to students, and which provides evidence that they're actually achieving those outcomes. So that's what we mean by program assessment. A accrediting agency comes and looks at that alignment, and then they look at what's the evidence that students are achieving those outcomes, and then the other thing they're looking for is where's the evidence that as you monitor this or evaluate this, you are actually thinking about the answers so that you can improve the process that you're using. So let's just track that through a little bit. As a department, we choose some activities to monitor. Now we have lots of activities. We have 8 activities in every class and every day, whatever. We can't keep track of all of them. But what we do is we say, now here's some key things we're doing that sort of show we're achieving our outcomes. And here's how we measure that. How do we know that the student can do it? So that's one of the reasons where you get into conversations about things like outcomes that can be observed. The student will X. Well, can the student do X? That's good. We've beat it. We can check it off. We did it. We can count the number of checks. We might also want to assess that our students as a whole are achieving a certain level of competence in terms of a particular objective. So we'll say 80% of the students will perform at this level, something like that. But the department has to choose some of these these activities to assess, and then they have to keep track of them, and then they use them as a way of having conversations about what do we need to do better so that they can do better on this, or should we change our target, should we raise it, should we have a different target maybe that'll show more clearly. So that's the kind of conversation that goes on at that level of assessment. So just keep these things in mind as we go through the course. As you read about assessment, think, is that about assessing a student or is that about assessing a program? And keep the alignment issue in your mind. How well do these things connect? How clear are those connections to students? How can we make those connections better? So when you're doing your individual project, for example, you can be thinking about that. What is that objective? How will I know that they met the objective? But how is that objective connected to some larger goals or missions that the class or the institution or the program is invested in? So anyway, I hope that's helpful, and we'll look forward to a wrap up next week on the discussions this week. Thank you, Adam, for leading those, and we'll see you soon.